The Stoic art of not caring. How to quiet a mind that won't stop screaming. Right now, somewhere in your head, a conversation is happening that nobody asked you to have. A comment someone made 3 days ago, still looping. Or an email you haven't sent, drafted and redrafted in your mind at 2 a.m. A version of tomorrow that hasn't happened yet, and probably never will. It plays on repeat, in full detail, uninvited. You are exhausted. Not because your body has failed you. Your body is fine. You slept 8 hours, maybe, and you're still tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. You are exhausted because your mind refuses to close its doors. Here is the harsh truth nobody wants to hear. Your overthinking is not a sign of intelligence. It is not proof that you care more than others, or that you're simply wired this way. It is a habit, a well-worn groove carved by years of quietly believing that if you just think about it hard enough, you will finally feel safe. You won't. That feeling of safety was never on the other side of one more lap around the track. 2,000 years ago, a man sat alone in a tent on a frozen riverbank. At war, grieving, betrayed by someone he had trusted completely. And he wrote himself a private set of instructions for keeping his mind still in the middle of chaos he could not control. Not empty, not numb still. He never expected anyone to read those words. He certainly never expected them to survive 2,000 years and end up tonight on the screen in front of you. But they did. And here is the part that should actually unsettle you a little. The mind spinning uncontrollably at 2 a.m., the one replaying an old conversation for the 100th time, is not fundamentally different from the mind that Emperor was fighting to control in a tent in the cold at war. Same species of noise. Same untrained muscle. Tonight, we're going to steal his instructions for quieting it. By the time Marcus Aurelius reached his late 40s, he had almost nothing left that resembled the life he might have chosen for himself. Historical accounts describe a young man drawn to philosophy from adolescence. He never sought the throne. He inherited it, reluctantly, and once Marcus held the position, it gave him almost no rest at all. For years, instead of ruling from the comfort of Rome, he found himself stationed far from the city. He commanded legions along the Danube frontier during a grinding, years-long conflict. At the same time, a devastating plague was moving through the empire, killing soldiers and civilians by the thousands. Marcus wrote his private journal, what we now call meditations, during these very campaigns. They were private notes, meant only to keep his own mind in order, while everything around him fell apart. Then came the betrayal. In the year 175, a trusted general declared himself emperor in the eastern provinces. Marcus did not respond with the fury he was entitled to. He did not order the slaughter of his enemy's family or supporters. When news came that the general had been killed by his own soldiers, Marcus expressed sorrow rather than rage. He regretted that he had been denied the chance to show mercy in person. Sit with that for a second. A man who had every justification in the world to let rage consume him chose something else instead, not because he felt nothing. He clearly wrestled with anger as a recurring temptation, but Marcus returned to one core idea. Other people's choices and actions are not, in the end, truly his to control. And the only damage they can actually do to him is the damage his own judgments allow. He was a man who had trained, deliberately, methodically, for years, not to let his feelings run the government of his mind. He practiced calm under the worst conditions, commanding armies through a foreign winter and mourning multiple children who did not survive. In the middle of all of it, night after night, he kept returning to the same discipline. Separate what is yours from what is not. Release what is not, fully, not halfway. Act with full commitment on what remains. That is the exact muscle most of us have stopped training. Here is what almost nobody tells you about overthinking. It feels like control. That is the trap, and it is a convincing one. Your mind convinces you that replaying the argument or rehearsing the worst-case scenario is you being responsible. It isn't. What is actually happening is that your nervous system is trying to solve an emotional problem using a cognitive tool. And the tool simply does not fit the job. Modern psychology calls this rumination. Repetitive, unresolved thinking keeps the nervous system locked in a low-grade state of threat long after the actual threat has passed. Marcus understood something almost identical nearly 2,000 years ago. His core distinction was simple. Some things are up to us and some things are not. Your judgments, your effort, your own conduct, moment to moment, these are up to you. someone else's opinion of you, the outcome of a decision, or what a stranger says about you. These are not up to you. They never were. Overthinking happens the instant you try to control what was never yours to control in the first place. You are trying to steer a car from the passenger seat, jerking at a wheel that was never in your hands. The people who move fastest through the world are rarely the ones with the fewest problems. They are the ones who have simply stopped spending their limited energy on the problems that were never theirs to solve. Every hour spent rehearsing an old argument is an hour not spent building the next thing. Every ounce of mental energy burned worrying about a judgment you cannot change is an ounce unavailable for the work that actually moves your life forward. Marcus quieted his mind by getting radically honest about what was actually his responsibility and by consciously releasing everything else. Not as defeat, as precision. Stop caring about the things that were never yours to carry. Think about how this plays out in an ordinary week. A client goes quiet. Partner misreads a text. A competitor launches a similar product. In every one of these cases, there are two categories of fact, and most people spend 90% of their energy on the wrong one. The client's silence is not up to you. Your follow-up is. The partner's interpretation is not up to you. Your honesty is. The competitor's timing is not up to you. The quality of your own work today is entirely up to you. This discipline was never about doing less. It was about directing everything you have toward the narrow band of things you can actually influence, instead of leaking that same energy into the vast, uncontrollable rest of the world. So how do you actually build this? Not as an abstract idea, but as a real, repeatable daily practice. Step 1, the morning dichotomy. Before you check your phone, before the noise of the day floods in, take 60 seconds. Ask yourself one precise question. What today is actually within my control? Not your outcomes, your effort. Not other people's reactions, your own conduct, your own choices, your own attention. Write it down if you can. This is a filter you are deliberately installing before the day gets a chance to hijack it for you. Step 2, the evening review. At night, instead of replaying the day's frustrations on a loop, ask a sharper, more precise question. Where, today, did I react to something that was never mine to control? You are not journaling to relive the sting of the moment. You are logging data the way an engineer logs a system failure so that you can catch the same pattern earlier the next time it appears. Step 3, the 10-second pause. When a thought spikes, the anxious replay, the flash of anger, the spiral that wants to start, pause deliberately for 10 seconds. Ask yourself, is this something I can actually act on right now? If the answer is yes, act. Send a message. Make the call. Do the actual thing instead of thinking about the thing. If the answer is no, you are not suppressing the thought. You are simply declining to rent its space in your mind for free. This single 10-second pause is one of the most direct ways to interrupt the rumination loop. Step 4, rehearsing, not fearing. The Stoics practiced briefly, deliberately imagining setbacks in advance. Before a hard conversation or a risky decision, spend 2 focused minutes honestly picturing the worst realistic outcome. Then ask yourself, without flinching, can I survive that? Can I actually rebuild from there? Almost always, the honest answer is yes. And once your mind genuinely knows it can survive the worst case, it stops needing to obsessively rehearse ways to prevent it. That obsession was never real protection. It was fear, quietly wearing the costume of preparation. None of these 4 steps require a retreat or a special app. They require about 5 minutes a day, spread across the moments that already exist in your schedule. The compounding is quiet, a slightly shorter spiral tonight, a slightly faster return to calm next week. The target is a mind that can be disturbed and then return to its footing faster than it used to. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth. He buried children, survived a plague, and was betrayed by a man he trusted. And still, the quietest, most disciplined mind in Rome belonged to him. Not because his life was easy, but because he had stopped fighting battles that were never his to fight. Your mind is not broken. It has simply never been trained. Somewhere tonight, a thought is going to spike, a worry that was never yours to carry, a judgment that was never yours to control. When it does, pause. Ask the only question that actually matters. Then, deliberately, let it go. If this gave you even a moment of clarity, subscribe. There is more of this waiting for you here. Every week, a little more quiet, a little more command over the one thing that was always, actually, yours to begin with. Your own mind.